Well, we've got the heat returning this week. Temperatures are going to be near 90 again. We continue to rack up the number for the year, and we begin August, of course. Will we see any rain, though? Looks pretty minimal. So we're back above normal today for most of the state. Maybe pockets of west central Minnesota where they'll have a few more clouds will stay near or slightly cooler. But yeah, the weekend averaged about almost 2 degrees cooler than normal. But of course, the big difference was less humidity. So it felt very nice out there. The heat is going to kind of brush up against us again, though, for the middle of the week. The heat dome largely staying to the south, but we are going to see these warmer than normal conditions. This is the upper level pattern, that upper level ridge, which is pretty warm air mass, moves in, especially for Wednesday, Thursday. Not as hot as last week, not as humid as last week, and it won't last as long. But then we're in maybe a little bit of a cooler pattern for next week. So if you don't like the heat, just maybe hang on a little bit. But for these next several days, forecast temperature anomalies are above normal for the whole central part of the continent, but especially the southern plains and Texas look to bake here. And then we will see maybe some of those cooler conditions next week. But highs near 90 here as we head into Wednesday for much of central and southern Minnesota. It looks like probably a similar scenario on Thursday. And you're going to notice things getting a little bit muggier too. So maybe into the 90s on Thursday could be our hottest day of the week. Similar to last week, Thursday was the peak of the heat too. So we've seen that comfortable dry air. Humid air is wrapping in behind that high pressure that we had for the weekend coming in from the southeast here. So as we head into Wednesday and Thursday, you'll notice those muggier dew points. Shouldn't be quite as humid as last week, though. We had those dew points well into the 70s, the most humid air we've seen this summer. This go around looks like mainly 60s, some places near 70-degree dew points. But then, as I mentioned, maybe that cooler pattern next week. This is the European model. Forecast temperature anomalies averaged out for next week with cooler than normal conditions from Minnesota, basically west into Montana and Wyoming especially. And as far as rainfall goes, this week is going to be less active than next week or last week was. We've got this upper level trough, this short wave that's going to be moving along the ridge of that heat. It's already producing some clouds and showers back to the west. This is mainly going to affect, it looks like northern Minnesota, maybe west central Minnesota late tomorrow. We'll see some spotty showers or a few thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon. And then if any of that can hold together, we might see an isolated shower or thunderstorm late Tuesday night, perhaps into Wednesday morning. Looks like pretty minimal chances, though, here for the southern half of the state. In fact, when we look at the forecast, total rainfall potentially through 7 a.m. Saturday, really almost nothing here in eastern Minnesota, Wisconsin. Western Minnesota may be a little bit of that activity, but some of this is already the next system potentially coming in for Saturday that we're seeing. The European and American models are giving us some hopeful signs of some showers and thunderstorms. At least some model runs could be quite wet. But it's not a completely slam dunk here. The Canadian model doesn't agree, and the confidence in this weekend forecast is pretty low. So stay tuned. Maybe August will bring a wetter pattern, something we haven't seen, of course, most of the summer, though July was drastically better than what we saw in June. We had 60% of normal rainfall in July versus just 20% that we had, of course, in June. Meanwhile, though, enjoy the heat or not. The next couple of days, we're going to have those low 90s. Probably that'll be number 21 and number 22 for 90-degree days this season.